The way you think right now today is wiring your brain to stay either in your current money situation or to become a wealth magnet. You just need to understand how your brain rewires. Because unless we bring in the neuroscience into manifestation, chances are you're staying in the same loop. Let's change that today. And by the end of the video, my love, you're gonna have that same advantage. My name is Giselle Baumet. I get to work with amazing women entrepreneurs as I help them to open up to abundance in their truest self by removing the blocks that are preventing it. Your brain is not fixed, is literally constantly changing, even right now. It's rewiring itself based on your repeated thoughts, your emotional states, and your actions. That's called neuroplasticity. It's your brain's ability to strengthen new neural pathways. Now, those pathways could be one of abundance or one that keeps you where you're at. It goes both ways. So when you're thinking repeated thoughts of money is hard to make, maybe they won't accept my offer. Will this be successful? I've been trying and I still can't make it work. You're firing the same neurons over and over with or without awareness that that's exactly what you're doing. What happens is those neurons fire together and they create a pathway that becomes automatic. I see this all the time. So what happens is you're taking the actions, you're doing the things, and it's keeping you in the same place over and over. I've talked to women that for 2 years, for example, they've been wanting to get their business to grow. And they're very smart. They're doing all the things, but yet their business doesn't grow. It's not for a lack of effort, that's for sure. It's about brain rewiring as well as stabilizing and decoding. The more you think and operate from scarcity, again, with or without awareness of that, the more your brain and your field makes that automatic, because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And the truth is, and I know this for a fact, your truest identity, the truest version of yourself, before the coding happened, before the patterns you learned, before things were put on you, that truest identity is amazing, is majestic, is who you are. And you deserve to be living in that identity and reaping the abundance of that. It is your birthright to be abundant. Every time that you're thinking a thought, you're matching it to an emotion, you're creating a pattern. Whatever the pattern is, though, your brain sure does love familiarity. So as it becomes automatic and it becomes familiar and it becomes a strong pattern, your brain says, ooh, let's stay here. This is familiar and I feel really good in familiarity, even if that familiarity is keeping you stuck. So if you've been living in survival mode, chances are that your wealth identity, it hasn't been firing strong enough to build a new pattern. But that's okay, because you can change that. When you consistently fire the neural pathways of that wealth identity, even before the abundance of your money shows up, you begin to train your brain to expect it. And that's what we want. And you start to feel the matching frequency of that. You end up bringing the emotional state of that wealth frequency into your body, which then tells your brain, this is who we are right now. This is who we are, and I will adjust to that. Over time, the pathway then becomes a stable one. The field becomes coherent, and your outer world becomes a reflection of that. This is why some people just seem to be able to attract wealth. But that's not just by luck. I trained my identity. I trained my brain, my nervous system, my frequency, and my body to feel safe in being the woman that receives thousands every single month before it ever happened. And then it happened. My inner world reflected then my outer world. When I was in poverty, when I was in lack, when I was in survival mode, When I didn't have a place to stay, I literally was homeless. My thoughts were matching that. That's all I knew. I was having the thoughts of the conditioning of my upbringing, of my early adult years. And at the time, as I was shifting my life, all the manifestation techniques were not having a sticky effect, meaning I would get some wins, but they most certainly did not create this life. What created this life was shifting my identity to wealth by rewiring my brain, stabilizing my nervous system, and decoding what was in my subconscious mind. That's what created this life. And then I just reversed engineered what I did, used my advanced training in neuroscience, and created the neurospiritual method. Because you deserve to be living a life of abundance. That is your true nature. So today, you're going to have that advantage. You're going to start by identifying your current thoughts. I want you to start identifying those automatic thoughts that you have around money. I even find it helpful that when you have the thought, write it down so that you can visibly see what your automatic thoughts are. Next, I want you to start interrupting the pattern. Remember, your brain is a pattern recognition system. So we are going to break the current pattern to create a new one. So when that scarcity thought fires, you're going to pause. This is no longer mine. And you're now going to have a wealth identity thought. Even if it feels awkward, it doesn't matter. But this part is really important. You do need to feel it in your body. It is that emotion with the thought that starts to wire your brain. If you're like, but I haven't ever had the level of wealth that I'm creating. Guess what? Neither did I. Not even remotely. The wealth that I have today, I had no idea what that felt like. I had no idea what that was going to be like when I didn't have it. I knew the feeling of what I desired. I knew that I wanted excitement. I knew that I wanted joy from that reality. So there were times in my life where I did experience that. And so I would match that with a wealth identity. That's how I began. And then through the process that I continued, I started to know what was wealth, what it felt like in my body. So if by any chance you're like me, where you're like, I don't know what that feels like, match it to what you actually want to feel like. That is the wealth identity. And it will get easier and easier for you. And if you're someone who already knows what wealth looks like, maybe you had it in the past, you've been around it, then bring that wealth identity with the feeling in your body of what do you want that emotion to be. And this is super, super important. I really hope you stayed for this part. Let me know if you did, because you're going to repeat it a lot, okay? The pattern you have now is probably really strong. So what? We're going to break it. And the way we're going to break it is repetition, repetition, repetition. Some of you, maybe you're going to have to do this daily. But you know what? Maybe you're going to have to do it 100 times in a day. It really depends how strong the current neural pathway is. For me, it was very strong. So I had to do this many times a day. I did it anyway because I knew how it worked. I knew, okay, I just had a very strong pathway that doesn't serve me. For me to break it, I'm going to have to repeat over and over again. And then it became familiar. The old way of thinking faded away. That's what's going to happen. You are not giving it that power anymore. So that neural pathway will literally just fade away and become an old one while you're creating that new one that becomes your norm. That's your unfair advantage. And as your brain shifts, your field follows. And you know what? Actually, as I just said, that's your unfair advantage. Do you know somebody else that could use this advantage? Because let's share it. The more we have wealth in the collective, the more we can help others, the more of an impact we can have. So share this video if it will be helpful to someone you know. You don't manifest wealth by thinking harder. You manifest wealth by training your brain to expect it and your energy to hold it. Your nervous system allows that energy to be in frequency of that money. Make it yours. Claim it. If you've already done all the things and you're still not living the reality in the identity that you desire and seeing that reflected in your outer world, then you're ready for the neurospiritual method. It's not a beginner program. It's for the woman that already has done all the things. And if that's you, apply for the neurospiritual method to see if you qualify. And until you're ready, keep watching these videos. Join my free 14-day challenge to get you closer to that step. Because you are majestic. You're so much more powerful than you realize. I cannot wait for you to realize it.